After suffering a deadly attack during their most recent Hellfire Gala, Marvel's X-Men have risen up to battle the anti-mutant group known as Orchis within the pages of recent Marvel titles. Over in X-Men 30, readers are slated to see Cyclops still kidnapped over by Orchis and Dr. Stasis try and find a way out. Plus, we'll check back in over with the character of Firestar working undercover and check in on the latest adventures of Synch and Talon as they try and undo the kill switch embedded from Orchis within the Krakoan medicines. My name is Ariko Braddock, and today, let's go ahead and dive into the pages of X-Men issue 30. But before we get deeper into the video, I want to encourage you to consider subscribing to the channel and hitting the like button over on this video. We are not animals. As the chaos of mutantkinds fight back against their fall at the hands of Orchis rages in Fall of the House of X, other forgotten foes come from the woodwork to take on the X-Men in their time of peril. Synch and Talon find themselves once more besieged by the High Evolutionary and his creations to reap the consequences of their last encounter. X-Men issue 30 is written by Gerry Duggan, featuring art from Phil Noto. We have colors over from Phil Noto, letters from VC's Clayton Cowles, and design from Tom Muller and Jay Bowen. In addition, the cover for the issue is coming in over from Joshua Cassara and Marte Gracia. Love how we can see Synch and Talon doing battle against the High Evolutionary in this incredibly epic cover over on X-Men 30. Want to extend a quick thank you to Adventures in Poor Taste and preview these incredibly epic opening pages coming in from Phil Noto. So I really found the opening scene on X-Men 30 to just be a great way to recontextualize Cyclops' current mental state as a result of him being kidnapped over by Orchis as well as the villainous Dr. Stasis. I thought it was incredibly interesting how Cyclops is able to open up on this dream sequence featuring Jean Grey, although I did find that some of the elements in this scene are a little bit derivative for what readers have already seen for Cyclops within Fall of the House of X issue 1. However, I did still find that some of Phil Noto's deadpan art just did a phenomenal job capturing the humor in Cyclops trying to convince this therapist that he actually sees the person within the state of his dreams, and that his dreams aren't really dreams at all within the context of the issue. Over with this page that we have up on the screen, introducing this text with the lovers, I think Gerry Duggan and Phil Noto create a really clever way to move from the sequence with Cyclops over to Synch and Talon, especially in the way that they juxtapose the relationship over between Jean Grey and Cyclops with Synch and Talon too. I really think that X-Men 30 does a really good job just kind of recapping and showing the relationship between Synch and Talon over in these next couple pages here. We really get a chance to catch up with these two characters and see them as they age throughout their time in the vault. I was really happy to see how Marvel Comics is trying to introduce some new readers to the X-Men franchise by recapping the relationship between Synch and Talon. But I think these next couple pages detailing the X-Men's plans to stop the Krakoan kill switches are probably only going to accommodate some of the most hardcore X-Men fans. But I think this page just has a great sense of design from Phil Noto. I love the bleed over from Spider-Man towards this third panel. I also think it's super interesting how Gerry Duggan is writing into Marvel Comics continuity and including the character of Norman Osborn as the Gold Goblin, who also is able to craft some really interesting dialogue between Spider-Man and the rest of the characters within the X-Men too. Also, I think Gerry Duggan just does a great job staying focused on the plot itself and introducing new and interesting scenarios. I love the idea here that Synch and Talon have to head over to Counter-Earth in order to find a device that could potentially stop the kill switch over on the Krakoan medicines. Really feels like Gerry Duggan is able to switch plot scenarios within just a couple pages and really make the issue read incredibly smoothly over for readers. In fact, X-Men 30 is even able to take on one additional subplot as Iron Man is able to check in with the character of Firestar It really feels like the main X-Men book has been devoted to fleshing out Firestar Angelica's undercover adventures over at Orchis. So getting the flashbacks over to these scenes, as well as seeing Cyclops kind of tortured by Orchis psychologically, has made the X-Men, even as just a core series by itself, feel really, really cohesive during the Fall of X era under Gerry Duggan. Finally, I thought the end of X-Men 30 was just really phenomenal, showcasing Synch and Talon heading to counter Earth. The way that Gerry Duggan is able to implement some twists and turns to make these sequences interesting really captures some additional intrigue over on this X-Men narrative. And I think also that the cliffhanger on X-Men 30 is nothing short of phenomenal. I think this issue in particular has some really, really strong pacing, and Gerry Duggan left me really interested in catching up with readers up until the very end. Also, Phil Noto has to accommodate the really interesting cliffhanger visually that Gerry Duggan sets up in the issue, which I also thought was executed really, really well over from a visual sequence. Sometimes when these plot reveals are revealed visually over in certain issues, it can be really hard to determine what actually happened on the page, but I think there was definitely a clear sense of legibility in the way that the prose and script were written, as opposed to how Phil Noto was able to render the art as well in these final sequences to really build the intrigue. So at the end of the day, I think X-Men 30 is a really fantastic core issue of the series. This comic book does a really good job playing off all the interesting plot threads over from Follow the House of X, while also accommodating that core series as well. If you're interested in learning just a little bit more behind the mechanics and background of the core X-Men series, I think this is a great title. But if you're really interested in some of the larger plot details, you can simply just stick with Follow the House of X and be perfectly fine here. I want to know from you, what were some of your thoughts over with Synch and Talon and the surprise cliffhanger over in this issue? What did you think about the new developments over for Firestar and Iron Man, as well as Cyclops? Thank you so much for coming to check out our video review over on X-Men 30, and we'll be back in the very near future to see how the Krakoan Age winds down. Thanks so much, and I'll see you soon. Bye.